Welcome to the Garage Gym Experiment podcast, where we dive deep into the home gym scene. Each week, we put out Sunday surveys where you tell us your thoughts on products, builds, and all things home gym related. We're here to break down the numbers and to talk shop. So thanks for listening, and let's get started.
Hey everybody, I'm Jake, and welcome back to the Garage Gym Experiment podcast. Today, I am chatting with Preston Wilson, who's the founder of Texas Garage Gym Builders. Preston, thanks for hopping on.
Man, thanks for having me. It's really, really cool.
Awesome. Well, to start off, would you mind just giving us a little background on yourself? Anything we should know before we start talking about the business and industry? Just family, hobbies, anything else the audience should know?
Sure. I'm a pretty typical guy. The business started out of just kind of my own needs and evolved from there. Since I started it, got married right before I started it. I have a 3-year-old daughter now named Hazel, who's kind of my everything. And I'm a pretty standard run-of-the-mill American Texan guy.
Awesome. Can you take us back to when you did start? I believe it was called PW23 Fitness. Can you just tell us about the founding?
Yeah, it was funny. A long time ago, really where I started was I had a job that I hated, but I had to go do a physical for it. And, the doctor, after he was done, was, just like, Jesus Christ, dude, like, what are you doing? And I was just like, pizza's healthy, and he was just like, you need to cool it, man. You're in your early 30s, but the inside of your body reflects maybe like somebody in their late 50s. And he was like, so that's not a great trend to be on. And luckily, driving away from that, going to a job I hated and all of that stuff, I was like, yeah, I could probably do something to make things a little better. So I joined like one of those kind of fitness boot camps in your neighborhood, like all the moms go to. Mm-hmm. And it was actually amazing. Like the first day we went, we were doing jumping jacks and push-ups and sit-ups and running around and burpees, this thing I hadn't heard about before that was the worst. And after about 15 minutes, the instructor was like, okay, we're done with the warm-up, let's do the workout. And I was just like, what the F? And so that really got me started in fitness and reflecting on my body and what it was able to do and not do, which was a lot. I was really good at Netflix marathons, not so much at running. And so as that progressed, I joined an actual gym, started doing just lifting and trying out things like CrossFit and all that. You're new to the space, so you're trying to find the thing that resonates with you the most. And as it turned out, I was just super busy. I couldn't always go to the gym. I needed to do workouts at home, and I needed equipment. I literally started out, I had one 20-pound dumbbell that I have no idea where it came from, and a 20-pound kettlebell from Walmart. And the very next thing I decided I would add to, kind of make it more functional was a plyo box. Went online. They were just either too expensive or the reviews were, bad. And so I just went to the garage and made my own. I had a piece of wood, I had a saw, a pencil, and a drill and some screws. And that's how it came together. So I built that, and then friends just asked me like, oh, of course you share it on Instagram. They're like, oh, can you build me one of those? I need one. But it just got really out of hand after that.
So it started with yourself. You built a few for friends and people you knew. When did you think it was something you could do for a business?
Well, people started, I built a lot of boxes. I was just selling them on Craigslist and things like that. And people really started asking me for other things. I have a long history in building and construction. And so they would ask me for a pegboard. And I was like, sure, I can drill, 45 holes in a pegboard or in a piece of wood. Or, can you build me a lifting platform? Can you do this? Can you do that? Other kind of custom things. Can you help me hang it up? And, it really happened organically that I just started getting so many orders and so many requests to help install that it just wasn't sustainable to do after hours or on the weekend. So I was like, man, I'm really onto something here. This this is really cool that people want to do that. Of course, having a corporate job, you're going to make a little bit more money, but I was like, I really think if I take the risk, I can do this and I can get it done. And that's exactly how it panned out.
How many years ago was this? And what was the job you hated?
Well, I started in 2016 doing this. I really, I started working out and all that about 2014. And by the time I got to building my own stuff, it's 2016. The job that I hated was all of them that I had. A lot of it in Austin, the easiest place that you can find a job where you can make a good amount of money is always like a call center, and selling home security or something to do with somebody's debt or SEO and all of that. And you could do it, you could make money and pay your bills. And it was just sort of a go there, grind it out, go home sort of thing. So almost every job I had in Austin, except for when I worked in solar, I really did not like.
Okay. So can you give me a little more insight into getting started? We kind of talked about it. You started with few plyo boxes and random items. When did you turn it into an actual company? And then how long did it take you to eventually make it your full-time job?
Well, I think the fact that I hated all those jobs was sort of what forced me into getting creative and thinking of how can I get out of this? What can I do? And then this happened real organically, but it was a point where I had started building all of these pieces of equipment and I really liked it. And then more and more orders, started coming in. So at that point, after I was going to commercial gyms and doing stuff and going into people's houses, somebody, probably my father-in-law, told me you're probably going to want to get some kind of insurance and an LLC and things like that. You're not really doing this just as a Craigslist side hustle anymore. And I think whenever those kind of very official type filings got done, I was like, oh yeah, this is a real thing. You get the little booklet from LegalZoom, and I was like, this is cool. So at that point, I still ran all the normal Facebook ads and stuff, but where it really started taking off is I had no idea how to market. I had nothing. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to think of new products to build and stuff. So one of the very first, I guess, accounts I followed was yours. And just seeing what people are into, what they're looking at, what's popular, what's, a trend, and, what's a staple and necessary. And that really started the education portion of my process. But then, I was like, well, I need a website and I don't know how to website. So I had a buddy help me make a real basic, Squarespace website where people could place orders. And then, the next thing was all this complicated getting noticed on social media, doing SEO. And I was like, I know how to use a saw, that's kind of where I was at, was I build this cool stuff, but I have no idea what any of that means. So I went old school, and the same buddy that, his name's Eddie, that built the website, I was like, can you help me make a flyer? Maybe flyers would do something. And long time ago, I was in a high school band, and that's how you got, the 3 people that came to your show to show up, is they got a flyer. And, even my mom had one. So he made me some flyers, and I just went around town. I would get on Google. I'd make a list of 10 gyms to visit in a day. And at that time, I think there were 100 different gyms in Austin, 150, something crazy. So I would make that once a week, go around and just go old school and go in and introduce myself and say, hey, I build stuff, and it's pretty good. It's handmade. It's local. I can bring it to you. Super grassroots, super organic. And, the name PW23, it was silly. And I really just made it up because I couldn't think of anything else, but it was just my initials and the zip code where I started. But it also kind of looked cool. People were like, oh, it's, mysterious, or I don't know, like a code. Nobody ever really questioned it, but it was really just something easy to make with a stencil. But people were into that. People were into me coming and talking to them and being a real person. And, so I was just like, hey, I'll come over and help. And that really stuck. So I have a lot of relationships with people that I developed just by popping in between classes and saying hi. And that, I think that's what's gotten me the furthest until now, when we do actually have real marketing and people that understand the internet, getting us out there and making our presence more known.
Uh-huh. So you're just popping into random gyms. What kind of stuff were people asking you to make?
Well, the big thing was always plyo boxes, CrossFit gyms and every other gym. Austin's real big on boutique style gyms. So basically everyone working out in there is working out with their trainer. And so they would want, step up boxes or box squat boxes, or, just a plyo box, and then we got into platforms that people could stand on while they're helping somebody do a bench press, so that, they have a little bit more leverage. But that was the biggest thing, was platforms. And then I think at that time they had just debuted like the pegboard thing on the CrossFit Games. And so that became massive. Everybody wanted a pegboard.
Uh-huh.
So I spent a lot of time just drilling holes in my driveway.
Yeah, I remember all of those items when you first were getting going. When did you make the transition or add to your arsenal just installation of other products?
So that's what got interesting, is that people were asking me for just a ton of different stuff that was no longer like woodworking. And I didn't have a welder or drill press. I wasn't set up to do that at all. I think at this time I was in like a pole barn that I rented from an elderly lady that just needed extra money. And I was working in there. It had no insulation, so it was always blazing hot or ice cold. Snakes were in there every day, which that was fun. But people were asking me like, I need storage. I need a squat rack. I need this or that. And so for a little while, I had someone that knew how to weld come in and help me, but nobody was getting rich, so they needed to kind of do something a little bit more steady. And at that point, I was like, well, I guess I got to learn to weld. So I got a welder and taught myself to weld. And don't worry, I had like mentors and people that really know how to, that were showing me when something was bad or not, and really how to do fabrication. And then people wanted other stuff like barbells and bumper plates and things that I just couldn't build. So that became this really cool relationship that started with Fringe Sport, which every garage gym person knows a Fringe Sport. And they're local, and so I would go there and say, hey, I have this customer that needs all of this stuff. Basically I'm handling the whole thing for them. I really didn't know what I was setting up at that time, but I was able to get a good wholesale relationship going with Fringe Sport. And then from there people would say, well, what all do you offer? And I was like, well, everything. Let's build out your gym. Let's figure it out, and then I'll come install it for you. And for a while I was doing that under the PW23 name, but that really didn't flow very well. So in the interest of the little bit I had learned about SEO, I thought of a name that was all keywords.
Yeah.
And that is the magic and mystery behind our name. Yeah.
And what year was this?
I think that year was actually 2019.
Okay.
So I started Texas Garage Gym Builders. I was still in my garage and doing all of that, working out of there. Occasionally I might ask someone to come help me do a big installation or something. I think the very first install I ever did was at a facility for men where they're trying to get sober, so I guess like a sober house, and they're getting them a gym. And I just talked through what they were looking for, how many people worked out, went and did it, and I was like, oh wow, like I just outfitted this entire gym, and it looks amazing. And so I guess on the way home I probably thought of that name and started transitioning over to that. And then as that grew and we moved back into suburbia, me and my wife and my daughter moved into more of just a regular neighborhood, I was like, well, I really don't think these people are going to like it if I'm chopping metal out in the driveway.
Uh-huh.
So in January of 2020, of 2020, I went and got my own commercial space. And then the next month you started hearing these rumblings of, this virus going around. And I was just like, oh, Jesus, like I
Yeah.
just signed this like 2-year lease. I had this plan how I was going to grow my business. I actually hired someone to work with me. And I was like, oh, this is going to be bad, because they were shutting things down, essential, non-essential, and all of that. And I was super worried, but obviously
It worked out.
it worked out pretty well for me.
So yeah, I'd love to hear how COVID changed everything, but I guess January 2020, just moved into a new place. Were you consistently busy during, like, I would say the year prior? Were you like filled out, or were you having some issues filling space?
In 2019, I was kind of as busy as I wanted to be. I still had a newborn. Well, she was born at end of 2018, so a little infant baby.
Uh-huh.
And my wife, God bless her, at that time I'm just growing this stuff, but she's the breadwinner, and
Gotcha.
so it was up to me to make myself available, for her whenever I needed to, because she was the one really kind of taking care of everything and allowing me to explore this. So once we got a nanny and all of those things in place, then it really came time for me to sort of try to justify what I was doing. So I would pack in as much as I could, and then orders and installs and things like that rolled in pretty regularly.
How did COVID change everything for you? Was it immediate, just job after job after job, or?
It's actually really funny the way that COVID worked out, because I had gotten in there, we were working, but for the past 4 years from 2016, people were already kind of tuned in to having a home gym. They could find training online, or trainers that would come over, or they just knew kind of what they wanted to do. We were pretty busy and we were installing a lot of stuff. But then when COVID hit, it was just me and one other person. And then COVID made it weird. So I actually turned down the faucet on going to their house and doing an install, because kind of like everybody else, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't want to go get sick or get someone else sick, or I was just like, I don't know. But the orders really came in. I think at one point I had to bring on somebody else, and our entire like office was filled to the ceiling with plyo boxes. That was like the thing. Everybody wanted plyo boxes. And then all of a sudden they were just, I was selling these big packages of a plyo box with a bench and a retractable rack, a barbell, and some weight, and people were driving from all over the state just to come pick it up. So it would have increased our install capacity at that point, but I was just way too nervous to do it. And so I got a little bit of a late start on that. But COVID took me from I'm as busy as I want to be, or I'm doing this amount of work, I can kind of gauge it, control it, plan for it, to it was just absolutely bananas. My whole warehouse was full. Sometimes we didn't even have room to like work. We're moving everything out into the parking lot in the morning and back in the evening, and it was chaotic. But funny enough, I had two amazing women that applied for the job and they got hired immediately because they were amazing craftsmen and did good work. So it was just us three in that shop all day banging it out with no air condition.
That's awesome. What's your business look like today then? Have you hired even more people? And I'd be curious just to hear everything your company offers.
Sure. So in 2020 things really took off, and by 2021, weirdly, I was becoming sort of a victim of how successful it was, because I was building and welding and installing and all of that, but I wasn't really keeping track of a lot of things on the back end. Those were all like, I'll get to it, we'll get it figured out. I was basically making the classic like self-employed person mistake and not really managing numbers and things. So I got really lucky, and again, amazing support from my wife. But then I went away one weekend to this kind of retreat thing in South Texas, just to kind of get a breather. I met a guy named Chris that is pretty successful and creative and all that. And, you know, he followed what I was doing for about a year, and he could see that it was growing. And obviously he couldn't see kind of behind the scenes, but he asked more and more about it. And he and his wife, Amanda, and her mother, Elaine, they came on and started looking at I allowed them to look at things behind the scenes in terms of my books, and they could kind of tell me where I was being disorganized and stuff. And at first, Chris was really just a mentor, but then they came on as business partners. And that's really when things started getting amazing, because I had this back end support, these people that knew that part, and I could do what I do best, which is, you know, build things and go out and talk to people about, you know, what they're doing. And then it freed me up to really expand the business and make it everything that it had the potential to be. So, you know, at that point, what we started doing is the very first thing that we offer is a consultation. It doesn't cost anybody anything. We'll drive out to your house as long as you're serious and realistic about what you want, and talk it over with you. Like, take measurements, make sure what you want is going to fit, and you know that everything is kind of sturdy. Walk through what kind of workouts you do, what you do need and what you don't need. I mean, it's an infinitely important part of what we do, because I go to someone that was like me in 2014 and doesn't know anything, but they got a little bit of money. And so they're like, I need, you know, a rack, I need 400 pounds of weight, I need this. And I'm like, do you have a trainer? Do you know how to use this stuff? Because to get started, I can attest, you might need a plyo box and a kettlebell and you're fine, you know?
Yeah.
And I try to guide them down a road that's like, please don't hurt yourself, because this gym's not going to do any good. All the way up to, you know, going in and talking to people that are more professional lifters or, you know, CrossFit Games athletes and things, and they know what they want. My expertise at that point is helping them make the most use of their space. So the face-to-face in the house consultation is not a sales pitch. It's just like, yeah, dude, you know, you have an 8-foot wall, so an 8-foot pegboard's not going to do you any good.
Yeah.
You know, no need to waste money on that unless you start from the floor somehow. So now what we offer really is kind of anything somebody needs, from a real basic setup being just a retractable rack, a flat bench, a barbell, some weights and storage, to going in and putting in a full scale kind of CrossFit style rig with leg press and hack squat and treadmills and cardio equipment, and, you know, putting mirrors up, putting rolled flooring down. You know, we'll do customizations in terms of putting shiplap on walls or painting. Just kind of anything that somebody can envision, that is the product we offer. And we pull those from several different vendors, depending on who offers what and who doesn't. You know, Fringe doesn't have a lot of strength machines, so we have to work with, you know, different companies to source those, and then obviously look at people's budget, you know, to do the same thing.
Got it. Do you usually make the order for them?
We do. Yeah. We supply all of it. The big thing is, once you kind of make that suggestion or do that consultation and make your suggestions, then what I'll do is go home and put together a list of items that we discussed and some that I suggest. And then we just talk about it over the phone and narrow it down. From there, you know, I have an operations manager, Michelle, that will order all of that stuff. We get it in, and, you know, we pack it up in our install van and take it out there, put it in, take all the trash away. But a big thing with us is we'll install any equipment, and there's obviously a lot of brands out there that are super trusted and known, like Fringe, Rep, Rogue, all of that. But if we're selling something to someone, it has to be, well, from one, a vendor that you know allows us to do that, but two, equipment that we trust. So if they say, well, I found this brand on Amazon, it's only $150 for this retractable rack, I'm like, you can order that.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll come help you put it up, but that's going to be on you, not us, because it doesn't matter what name it says on that rack. If something's wrong with it, I sold it to them, they're going to be mad at me. And I want to work with the brands that I love and trust.
Got it. Do you find that most people reach out to you because they want to just save time, or they're just lost and they don't have any idea what to do?
I think the big portion, whether it's someone that doesn't know a lot about fitness or someone that does, there's always a lot of questions that they have. You know, someone that doesn't know a lot about fitness, they don't know where to start. They don't know what they need. Maybe they haven't even actually started working out. So that's a big part of the consultation, is going in and saying, what kind of workouts do you like to do? And then getting them started with a basic setup that they can add on to as their hobby grows or as that lifestyle grows. Because you never know, you may really enjoy powerlifting, but one day you get the CrossFit bug and you want to go do that. But then with somebody that's already got a strong foundation in what they do, where my expertise comes in handy, is that I can go in and tell them what's going to fit in their space. Like, I know that you want these machines, but they're massive, so they're not going to fit in here. So what's another way that we can make this work for you? We've had to do that to the point of just building somebody an entire building in their backyard so that it would fit what they needed.
Interesting. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned people are like, sometimes they just want to buy like the cheapest option. What other mistakes do you keep people away from before having that consultation meeting?
I do try to tell people you get what you pay for. I try to tell people read reviews. And, I'm like, it's sort of like when I was younger and learning to play guitar. When you buy the cheapest guitar you can find to learn on, it's really hard to learn on. And it's the same thing with fitness equipment. If you buy really cheap stuff, it's really hard to kind of get in that groove. And also you're probably going to have to rebuy it after a year or two, because it's definitely going to break down, or it's not going to function the way you want it to function, or it's not going to have accessories that you can add to it as you get to that place. So I try to explain to them, you want something that's kind of universal that you can use, but it's going to last a long time, that you're not going to get 6 months in, the J hooks are breaking and you're just like, crap, I got to buy this again. I just spent all this money on it.
Uh-huh.
The other thing that I do is, believe it or not, we want to sell everybody everything they want, but I talk people out of a lot of things that they just don't need. And I'm like, if we save you money on that, you can get these things, and that's going to, put you closer to whatever your fitness or workout goals are, than buying this thing that looks really cool on Instagram, but doesn't actually serve any function for you.
What types of things would
belt squat for like a year? I'm talking just regular garage gym people that don't lift or haven't lifted. I'm just like, you don't need a belt squat. Like, that's a $2,000 machine or $1,000 machine, depending on where you find it, that right now is super popular, but it's not something you're going to use every day. And it's going to take up so much real estate in this gym that you're going to hate it after a while. That's a big one. A lot of time the pegboard looks fun, but it's not functional. 100-pound dumbbells, like, no, there's a lot of stuff people see and they see people using and they're like, you know what, I want that. And then I just have to have that conversation of like, you may not be there yet. So let's get you started with what you want and some things that are more relevant to what you're doing. And then later you can always add that stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you feel comfortable answering, how many employees do you have, and how many jobs would you say you're doing a week?
Yeah. Right now we have, 5 people that work in the operations day to day that work for us. And then myself and one of my other partners, we work in the day to day. Me and Elaine are sort of on the sales and customer support side. And then, one of my other partners is behind the scenes, really handling, books and marketing and those, working on the business to help it grow. So, I guess total, there's like 8 of us doing something every day that needs to be done. I have 2 installers, Austin and Christian. They're amazing guys. One of them trains doing strongman, and when you look at him, it's serious. And Christian is also a lifter, but also a carpenter. So I have kind of the best of both worlds. I have these guys that understand construction and installation and all that, but they also understand the equipment that we're putting in, how it's supposed to function, how it's supposed to look. Safety is a big one, because, you know, putting in something yourself, you're doing ring rows on your squat rack, that's not a good time to find out you missed the stud. So having these guys there and going out and testing it all is massively important. And I think pretty much everybody in the company has some sort of, you know, Nikki, who's the very first person I ever hired, now she does a lot of our welding and fabrication, but also the 3D designs of people's gyms. And I mean, she's got a degree in training. So everybody understands everything that we do and why we're doing it. And so as far as how many jobs we have, I mean, any given week we're booked solid. You know, sometimes we have a job that lasts an hour and a half where we go in and put up a retractable rack and a few other simple items, and we're out of there, you know, drag some stall mats in. But this week we're working on a job where we took a 3-car garage and partitioned it so that the third bay is now a gym that has a giant 10-foot mirror, shiplap on the walls. We installed air conditioning, a side mount, garage door opener to free up headspace. And just somehow in the middle of all that, we've included installing their Tesla charger, because, you know, we were like, oh, we're already in here, let's do it. We had an electrician do it, but yeah, we have jobs that go from the, you know, very basic setup, the starter kit, if you will. And we love those just as much as we love these giant jobs where we're completely transforming a space and putting in lighting and stuff like that. But I think what our goal is with all of this right now is we want people to feel like they're going to work out in their gym, not I'm going to go work out in the garage. Because, you know, you can have all the equipment you want to have, but if you can't get into the right headspace when you walk in there, then it's going to become one of those items that just sits abandoned and never used. So if that takes putting up, you know, $40 worth of just LED lights, then that's what we're going to do. You know, that's another part of the conversation and consult we have with customers is like, what's going to stop you from using this, and trying to fix that for them.
Yeah, I'd be curious to follow up on that. What are the best ways to really transform just a basic garage into the gym atmosphere?
Man, I think it's different for everybody, but one of the things, no, I don't know if anybody likes to admit this, but making your gym Instagram shareable. Yeah, people don't want to admit that they like it. They like to take pictures of themselves when they're working out, and they should, because they're out there actively doing something awesome for themselves. But, you know, on the other hand, you know, they don't want to just show like the sheetrock tape and stuff behind them. So what I try to do is talk to people like, you know, is it going to make you work out more if you can share the space? And for some people, it's like, yeah, you know, or maybe they want to be a trainer, and I'm like, let's make this thing look like a gym. But the customizations that I really like personally are, you know, you put up the banners and the flags and stuff like that. You got your American flag over there, and you know, remember what you're fighting for.
Yeah.
And kind of anything else. I've got pictures of my kids, or of my kid. I only have one. I got a picture of my kid up, and then I painted a wall blue. You know, all of that makes it not feel like the garage. Me painting the wall blue cost me about $40 over a weekend. And it, you know, it wasn't really hard, but we'll do customizations. If somebody kind of has their own name and logo for their garage gym, go get that put in on the wall or put it on a platform. Lighting is huge, you know, not just working out under the big fluorescent lights, and, you know, maybe putting in some can lights or something like that, or turning those lights off and putting those LEDs up is massive. Just, it really depends on the person's style, but there's so many things you can do that will help you mentally get into the space that you want to be in.
That's something cool that I'm sure you've learned over the years and have constantly kind of improved upon. I'd be curious, you've been doing this since like 2016, so
right,
about 6 years. Have there been any, you mentioned trends earlier, just like you can kind of see things come and go, but have there been any big shifts in like the home gym crowd that you've noticed, or just like seeing people's wants change in their requests for what you do?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I've seen that's changed is people no longer want their home gym to be super basic or just a supplement to the gym that they go to, and Austin's a huge place for like remote work. People aren't really driving anywhere to go to work. They're at home, or they have kids and stuff. So the biggest transition that I've seen is, even though early on I was trying to sell people a lot of things that they needed, or I knew they would want down the road, they were like, no, I just need this real basic setup, to now it is getting more and more elaborate and intricate, and different companies are making some amazing things designed to be in a home. Like Bolt Fitness out of Houston has a real compact leg press, and some people love those. So I mean, we've installed those. Another trend is the guy that or woman that puts the garage gym in then becomes sort of like a host for their neighbors to come work out with them, or use that space later. So it's the biggest trend that I've seen. There's a lot of products that are off and on and people argue about, and some love and don't. But it all really has come down to the fact that people don't want just a basic setup anymore. They want a gym.
Interesting. I guess I've seen that on Instagram as well. Let's chat about the future. Do you have any insights you can share into what you hope your company will do or evolve into in the future?
I do. There's a lot of things that we're working on right now. And one of the things is just the company itself. It doesn't necessarily exist anywhere else in the capacity that we do it. A lot of companies will send someone from their warehouse or whatever to deliver and install a rack, but they won't do the other customizations. So one of the biggest things that we want to work on is really expanding our reach in terms of these consultations and massive customizations that we offer, so that people are getting the gym they want, that's installed by trained professionals, that's super safe and all of that. That's one of the directions that we're going. One day maybe we want to have an Indiana garage gym builders, or we want to have Nebraska garage gym builders. That way people can really see what they can get a better idea of what they want, and it's not so automated over the phone. They can work with a professional that understands construction and fitness and be really confident and comfortable in the things that they get. But there'll always be the element of the DIY person that's like, I ain't spending money on having somebody bolt that to my wall. There's always that guy, and so in that sense, where we need to move is to be able to offer products that are really specifically designed for a home gym and a garage gym setup, as well as commercial. So, one of the things that we're working on right now is our own line of equipment that would be accessible to everybody, but mainly used to focus on, our installs and our own expansion. That's one of the unsung services that we offer, is that we've fully vetted tons of equipment and tons of companies and things like that, and including some of the contractors we use. And these are things that save people lots of money, even though they don't always know that up front, but it saves them a lot of money, and it saves them a ton of time, just sitting there reading through, like this and this look exactly the same on the spec. So why is this one better than this one? And, those are the things we know because we've actually put them together and used them. And we're just like, oh yeah, that one sucks. This one's awesome. And we've taken from your account a lot of data that you put out there, which is amazing for us and just the regular guy at home. We've used that data and then our own experience to know exactly how home gym equipment needs to function and look and all of that, and how to make the most out of tiny spaces.
That's really cool to hear. There's probably no better way, unless you're a manufacturer and you see your sales numbers, to see what people want better than what you're doing as well. That's cool.
It's also not just seeing what they want, but it's seeing the mistakes that they are willing to admit they made in what they bought.
Yeah, or where their mind is when they're first trying to set up a home gym, like, oh no, you don't want to do that. Or like the common misconceptions that a lot of people have, I'm sure you're able to see. Do you have, off the top of your head, can you describe some of the best installations you've done over the years? Do you have one or two off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some. I think the very first one I did will always stand out to me just because it ended up looking amazing, but it was for a facility where people are going there to kind of clean themselves up. And I was really proud to be a part of that. Like that, this is such a great positive thing that they're putting in here instead of a TV and some couches and, things for them to sit around. These guys can come in and kind of literally work their shit out. That one was cool. And then, it's been not really allowed to say names, but
Right.
we've done celebrity installations and sports star installations and stuff like that. People from very famous zombie shows, getting our name out there and being able to work on the Walker Texas Ranger set, has been super exciting. And so just getting to meet, seeing somebody that's a mom that doesn't have a lot of time and needs this basic setup in her gym, that inspires the crap out of me. And I love every single basic install we've ever done. And the biggest reason why is like, that's true, no excuses. Like I've got no fucking excuse. I just put this gym in, and it makes me really happy to see that there are people that can make this excuse like, well, I don't have time to go to the gym. Well, this person spent $1,500 they may or may not have had so that they could continue to work on themselves. So that always makes me really excited. And then I think that the one that we're working on right now where we've, partitioned the wall and all that, maybe it's because it's the latest one, but I'm just kind of falling in love with that gym. And obviously you'll be seeing pictures of it and the progress and all of that as we go through. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. It's hard to pick favorite ones. I guess I will always go back to, I love our big jobs. I love seeing that work come to fruition and turning just this blah garage where a lawnmower used to sit into this super boutique style gym that somebody's going to use. But my favorite ones are always going to be the no excuses ones, the people that are like, I don't have a lot of money, I don't have a lot of time, what can you do to help me? And we set them up, we get them going, and then seeing those people a year later on Instagram, because I'll follow every single one of them, seeing them still just banging out workouts every other day or every day on this basic setup, I'm like, dude, see, that's the real deal.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's amazing to see.
Cool. Last question that I have is, do you have any predictions, I would say, for the home gym industry over the next 5 years or so?
Well, one prediction I have right now that I've been seeing is the used equipment market is about to explode again. As a reaction to COVID, a lot of people bought a ton of stuff, and I'm seeing it now. Even my own customers are like, I don't really use it. I went back to the gym, things like that. So I see the kind of used market really picking up and becoming a viable profit center for companies like mine, where maybe we can buy that equipment and sell it to somebody at a discounted rate. I think it's about to get flooded, so we're probably over the whole COVID reseller that's selling dumbbells for $5 a pound or $6 a pound. I know what I got. To that really being unloaded and that being a good opportunity for people to get a real inexpensive home gym done. But the way that I see it going is I've seen Peloton and Tonal and all of those kind of programs come out, and then I've seen 2 months later the people call me to build them a real gym. So I see that sort of screen interactive thing not 100% going the way that everybody thought it would. I don't think it'll ever die out because some people love it, but I just don't see it being the next big thing, because I think people more and more now are yearning for screen free time. And that's what a gym gives you. I mean, minus like if you got music videos playing, but you're not really watching them. And my favorite part of going out to my gym is I want to deadlift. So I give my daughter her foam weights and she deadlifts with me. And I think people are going to start seeing the value in that, and seeing, with companies like, like Street Parking has, all online workouts for $20 a month. People are be like, well, yeah, I'm going to do that. That's kind of where I see the trend going. And then outside of your standard weightlifting gym, we've also built, yoga style gyms or boxing style gym, whatever somebody's discipline is, we've built that. So, and I think more and more people are going to go that direction. And instead of remodeling their bathroom, they're going to build a center for health and wellness in their house no matter, like what that looks like to them. So maybe they are a yogi, then we're going to go in and build them a yoga studio. Or if they're a weightlifter, we're going to build that. Saunas are becoming huge. We're assembling a lot of saunas for people. But, I think that comes from, Joe Rogan saying he loves it, and sauna companies must love that. But I think it's awesome. That's kind of what I see happening, is people wanting to work out at home and be with their family and have privacy. I think gas prices aren't helping anything right now, like, especially if you're a dumb like me that bought a truck with a Hemi right before they all went up, and you're just like, oh, great, this is nice. So yeah, I mean, that's my prediction, is that the way that we're building gyms is the way that it's going to go for a lot of people, just transforming a space to fit your discipline, and maybe get rid of some of the screens that you would normally have in your day-to-day life.
Interesting. That's cool. All right. That's all I have. Anything else you want to chat about?
I can't really think of anything. I mean, I love, what you're doing and the information that you're putting out there, as well as, everybody else that's online and sharing that stuff. At the end of the day, everybody's trying to better themselves, and they want to better themselves. They want to stay healthy. I think that was the thing that inspired me the most during COVID, is that was the perfect excuse to sit on your couch, drink, and be sad. And people were like, fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm getting jacked. And a lot of them did too. You're just like, damn, dude, you did not look like this when you bought that gym from us a year ago.
That's cool.
You've gotten toned up or bulked up or whatever it is, and it makes me excited. So I mean, I think as long as we keep doing what we're doing and you keep doing what you're doing, and that's ultimately what's gonna move us all into the future, and having these tiny little micro gyms everywhere.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks for taking the time to chat. Would you mind giving people your plug?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find us on Instagram and the Twitters, just Texas Garage Gym Builders, texasgarageGymBuilders.com. We've been featured on the Garage Gym Experiment podcast. So yeah, I mean, anywhere you look at Texas Garage Gym Builders, we're going to pop up, and, we love it. People say hi, watch what we're doing, and get inspired by it.
All right, cool. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. This is really cool I'm sorry, I know that you probably have to go, but I just think about 3 years ago, you invited me to answer some questions for your blog. And, you've allowed me to send you a couple of items that I built when I very first started building items. And, so I really appreciate you having me here, and kind of always being amazing to me. And I think that, you've been a huge part of keeping me motivated and validated in what I'm doing. So I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk.
No, this was really cool, because like you said, we chatted years ago and kind of fell off over the last few years. So it was really cool. I saw you on somebody that I follow. I saw you were installing someone that I follow, Sam Parr's
Airbnb. He won't be mad if we plug that. Sam Parr just has put together probably one of the most amazing Airbnbs in Fredericksburg, Texas, that looks over Enchanted Rock. And it's a beautiful space, and he's going to transform that into sort of a health and wellness retreat that, have all kinds of goodies. So that's been one of my favorites so far too. So yeah.
I've followed Sam Parr for years, and I'm a big fan of his podcast. Listen to it every week, and have been listening to him update his Airbnb. And I knew he was installing a gym, and then I saw on his page your big van with multiple employees, and I was like, whoa, Preston must be doing really well. So I just thought that was really cool. So I just reached out. I think I reached out to you a few weeks ago or something like that. And just really cool to see and hear how the last few years have been, and that you're going to continue to try and grow and focus on this. And a lot of what you've learned over the last few years sounds like a lot of the things that I've learned over the past few years on the internet. So really cool. Yeah, we should definitely do this again. And I was thinking in Indiana, or like where I'm at, your model would do really well. So I really hope some people take the chance to listen to this, if they have any thoughts or would like to work with you, I'm guessing that's okay for me to say that, to reach out to Preston and see how they can get involved. But yeah, I think big potential with installation across the country or world, I guess.
I think so. Just installation and a little bit of guidance, and that gets you going, and that's all you need. If there's anything I could leave it on, it's like, it's the old platitude or cliche, like, just get started. And once you've gotten started, gym equipment's like tattoos. You're always going to want something else. You're always going to add to it, but it's fun.
Yeah. All right,
man. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, sounds good.